restructure of the National Drought Management Authority to National Disaster Management Authority. This, Honorable Speaker, underpins the importance of the Office of the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury as far as the budgeting processes and the budget and the financing, and as well as the growth of our economy, Mr. Speaker. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, it's therefore extremely important that the department within the National Treasury, the Department for Economic Planning, is extremely important. And there is time during President Kipaki's presidency. This was a whole ministry known as the Ministry for Economic Planning and National Planning. And when you look at the budgeting or the money allocated for this very important docket, Mr. Speaker, you realize there's quite a lot which has been cut, which is okay, because most of the departments we have seen, they have reduced the budget, and this is in line with the Kenya Kwanza administration as far as cutting expenditure and trying to manage the government affairs within what we can be able to spend as a nation. But it's very, very important to stress the point that national and economic planning is a very important component, a very important docket for this nation, Mr. Speaker. And we are seeing a situation where the synchronization of the national planning vis-a-vis the budgeting process is not well mainstreamed. And we may get it wrong in the process. Mr. Speaker, we need to look at the mosaic of the national development instead of looking at project-based development. At the moment, the budget we have, Mr. Speaker, it is project-based budget. And I think we have to call upon the Cabinet Secretary in charge of national planning to ensure in the coming years we will not be debating budget which is project-based. We want to debate a budget which is which has a picture, a mosaic of the entire development plan of our nation, so that all the regions of our nation, all the economic sectors of our nation can be well integrated, can be well mainstreamed in the budgeting processes, so that we achieve the national and economic growth which we envisage and which the Kenya Kwanza administration envisage. Very at which, Mr. Speaker, we will continue dragging behind, we will continue dragging behind in terms of the growth, economic growth of our nation. Mr. Speaker, you realize that in this budget statement, or budget estimates tabled by the chairman of the budget committee, the State Department for Primary Education, we thank the committee for ensuring that the children of this nation, who comes from all the corners which experience harsh economic realities, especially the children of Better North constituents, which I represent, Mr. Speaker, will continue enjoying school feeding program under the NACONEC. It was extremely painful when we heard that the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury is thinking on cutting the school feeding program. Mr. Speaker, you know, in different corners of this constituency, or this country, we have extremely poor situation, extremely dilapidated schools, extremely many young kids who are very, very coming from very poor families, and they depend on the school feeding program. This is a program which needs to be entrenched properly until this nation will be able to say we are not only a middle-income economy, but a developed nation. By so, we'll be able to say every kid can be able to afford a meal in school, can be able to afford to go to a better school. So what I'm trying to say, Mr. Speaker, is that if this feeding program is key and is very important, and we are proud the committee for ensuring it is well enshrined. Mr. Speaker, I note with concern when it comes to the secondary education department, we have seen reduction of the budget. In ICT, we have seen reduction of the budget in infrastructure development. Education is the only equalizer which we have, which can make anybody, any Kenyan, from any walk of life, from any corner, to be able, Mr. Speaker, to go to any part of the world, work and serve. As far as we are concerned, budget for education is critical, and the technocrat within the Ministry of Treasury should look at when we are cutting down the budget, let's be very, very afraid when we are reducing the budget for education, whether it is tertiary education, whether it is university education, whether it is primary or secondary education. Education is key. We better cut budget for other areas, but not a budget for education. We already know, Mr. Speaker, that education sector is underfunded. We have dilapidated schools, secondary school, primary schools in our constituencies, very dilapidated. And our CDF money is not enough to ensure all the kids are able to sit and run in a conducive environment. So when we see such kind of a reduction of budgets within the Ministry of Education or State Department for different levels of education, it is a worrying trend, Mr. Speaker. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, you realize, I note with concern the urban and metropolitan development. We have seen serious calamities, disasters for the past this year as well as last year because of excessive rainfall. And some of this is attributed of poor urban development. Urban development which is not well integrated with the planning, which is not well integrated, and therefore you see the funding within our urban centers. It is possible for the population to live in tandem with rivers, with water. It's not a must that every time we have heavy rains, Mr. Speaker, people are dying, houses are swept, transportation is a problem. It is possible to coexist with rains and human beings. And this can only be achieved, Mr. Speaker, if the urban and metropolitan development is given a keener eye. But at the moment, we have seen serious cuts as far as that department is concerned. As we try to live within our budget, it's also important to consider whether the money reduced and the technocrat working in this department are able to save the future of our children. We saw our schools getting closed, not opening because of our poor urban development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the State Department for Labor, I know Kenya Kwan's administration is keen in looking for jobs, not only locally but also internationally, for the Kenyans who want to work abroad in different countries. But I can see there's serious underfunding as far as the State Department for Labor is concerned. Mr. Speaker, the integrated regional development is key. It's something which needs to be well championed. And we have seen lately, because of lack of understanding as far as the greater regional development is concerned, at the moment we have a serious rift between the coastal counties and the county of Embu, county of Kirinyaga, which grows Muguka as well, county of Makueni, which grows Muguka in some part of Makueni. It is important to make it clear that, Mr. Speaker, integrated regional development cannot be achieved if there is inter-county trade wars. Inter-county trade wars must be discouraged by all means, and therefore it is good to note that this department within the State Department for ASAL and regional and northern corridor development need to be well activated, well re-energized, so that the counties can understand the inter-county conflict will not lead this country in the right direction. And the issues of county governance waking up and banning one crop arbitrarily without any justification as far as the laws of this land are concerned is something to be condemned, is something not to be encouraged at all. Mr. Speaker, lastly,